Fika isikhathi where you are older and wiser. Fika isikhathi la ungeke usakhuluma nomuntu wasemhlabeni. Fika isikhathi la only you want to talk to the Creator. And when you feel it inside of you, leso sikhathi masifika. Don't doubt it. Khuluma mntana sekhaya. Khuluma noNkulunkulu wakho. There's nobody else you can turn to. Hallelujah. Trust you me. Zola is there. What's that song?
Sihlanganise sibe sonke la siyaphuma njengamanje sizongena emgwaqweni ngicela usivikele uNkulunkulu Baba ngomoya wakho engcwele kunalapho esifika khona uNkulunkulu Baba sihambe ngomoya wakho kube ukwenza isiqiniselayo kuyo yonke into ehamba kwethu Baba.
And your heart is feeling lonely. Baby, lift up and pray, and pray. That's why he is the Ali Fela, yes, baby, lift up and pray.
Producer, our producer, the best one. Now come on, keep it.
Trevor Hudson, Martin Luther King, Stephen Biko, yes, we made it. Yes, 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 we made it. Over there, my people over here making money everywhere. We made it. Yes, we made it. It's too late now, baby. We made it. We made it. The beamer I bought it, the cream I bought it, the shoes and the watch and the glasses I bought it. Yeah, we bought it. Yeah, yeah. I guess we made it. Yeah, tell Lumumba we made it. Yeah, the Emperor Selassie, tell them we made it. Lumumba, Lucky Dube, Bob Marley, tell them we made it. I say, yeah, we made it. We made it. Tell them
my name is Fatima. Within the Moses Kotane local municipality, Ward 6. Okay. So, Committed Youth Against Crime was initially created by CSK from Gen Play Broadcast Media. The idea was just to get the youth together to say, we realize that we've got challenges, but to sit and just always say we have challenges and we need help from the government does not necessarily help. So CSK saw it fit for we must stand together and fight whatever challenge that we experience from all corners of Moses Kotane local municipality. Hence, Committed Youth Against Crime was born.
Dumelang basha. This was actually initiated after what is it that we can do for our young people? We can see that we are faced with challenges in terms of our young people being destroyed, substance abuse, drugsing, this thing. And because of this thing, challenge space South Africa, but unemployed, whereas finally the other organizations say no for it, they can also as well but there is something the government.
I'm gonna just the core issues regarding education. The standard that our school is in, khadi, they are not conducive for learning. So that is one of the discouraging factor. We are expected as youth, re be proud ka the schools that we have and own the education that re na le yona mo country ya rona. It becomes difficult so many kids without uniform, the kolo, no windows, the yard is not fenced, the books no resources, no libraries. For someone grade 12 in my village to have that dream of being an electrical engineer, it feels and looks hopeless.
Yeah.
My problem is access, because facility especially for Mohasa. But the access, the red tape around the access to access park, we have, let's say, poetry sessions, is too much. It's more easy to get drugs than to get a park for something positive. So that's my problem.
Sure.
So if maybe the red tape between us is a little bit small.
My dream is to see those young people in my community being employable, earning skills, earning maybe entrepreneurship for themselves, or getting into business for themselves. Because half of the whole village, the last time when we were doing our statistics, we having almost like 1,500 young people not working. They could fill about 25 buses. Some of them now, they are working go rainbow chickens, and they're only working for a fortnight. When they get paid, my brother, they all get to the tavern, they start drinking, they don't even get the responsibility.
A full equipped
Sports facilities.
And basketball, netball,
and everything.
everything.
If you approach anyone and said, here's a brilliant plan we have a young architect here, he wants to design this thing for us, Jose wants to give us the land, can we please have 20 million? Independent of municipality and government and Jacob Zuma and whoever else is involved. You as the young people saying that we're going to go build this thing on our own, and we're not going to go ask anything from the government except Umshaba. Because all we want the government here. But the government also said we should go to corporate and get them involved in the things that we're trying to do. And corporate is always waiting. So, Nenzeni.
Like on 2000 and I think it was 10, we went to open a consortium. Raibula the consortium, okay, sharp, Luna, engineering, Luna, the graduates engineering, Luna, and tourism, Luna, and that thing, I felt like hope because of somebody or relaying over Tlankore and I utilize it for over Gisarona youth.
Dumelang bagolo. Ke zone 2 ward 13 ya Mamotlhare. Zola, now I think, and everyone, I think problem ke rona batho.
Yeah.
We are not united. Wa bona gore re ba kana kang. Like if nka re bana ba ko mogwatsi ko zone 2 ba misa matsogo. Re 7 or 6.
Yeah, what's the rest of you?
Exactly. We are supposed to unite. The sports facilities di teng ko mogwatsi, like he said, and o mongwe o reitse point ya gore ga gona access. Wa tlhaloganya if re le batho ra kopana or if re le basha ra kopana ra ya ko masipala or ra nna mo fatshe like ntse bua gore re shebe gore re ka thoma fo kae re felle fo kae and then re bitse di parents tsa rona to assist us. I think re ka ya somewhere.
Namatoy law. You know, sishisi izinto eziqondene nathi bese siyovandalaza izinto eziqondene nathi. Now, here's a bigger problem. I think you people are very clued up in your life. Sifike ngabloma la ngalalela. Ngizona. Let me take you sibuyele emuva kancane. Nalabo jahitata laba engakaba mention. Yeah. Laba ncane laba. Oh, grade R laba bagqoka pink no yellow la. Okay. Now we have a new monster in town. We have a lot of kids that don't have parents. I'm trying to show you where the problem comes from psychologically. parents die early, ne? You have kids who are born with terminally ill, terminal disease like about HIV and stuff, but they've never had sex, really. They inherited them from their moms and their dads. Then you got a 10-year-old that has to watch his mom until she dies because nobody will touch that woman. So dude in the head, he's permanently ruined. And there's no structure esikhuluma psychology or support for umntana onjalo. So by the time aphumela ngaphandle estradini ayobhema inyawo, he's ruined endlini and he's made a decision ukuthi life never gave him a chance. And then he was born HIV positive. And he watched his mother die. And he finally worked out at age 7 that this thing I have to drink every day is actually ARVs. And I'm going to die too. So by the time these people are 19 and they're drinking and they are wild, you have to understand how messed up they were from ezindlini before baphuma bayodlala estrati. So, if we want to discuss things politically alone and at municipality level alone, and we leave the emotional department of why the youth is like this in the first place, people are angry because of things that have happened ezindlini. And we still live in a society where these things are not discussed. So umuntu uhleli kanje, when does it wrong every day? Mhlambi cherry, yajola yenza yonke into. But she's unable to tell you, people, I'm hurting here. I was born HIV positive and I'm 19. And at any given time, I think I'm going to die. But for some reason, for a miracle, I'm still alive. So that's why you have these stats of the young, the black youth that does not qualify or never finishes university or never finishes matric. And then they'll tell you, AUJ, 1 out of 4 is already HIV positive. So, yes, society is a more shege. There will be riots, there will be a toy, there will be people defying a government. But we avoid where these things come from before they become a collective problem. La madladla lawo esiphuma kuwana rubbish wonke.
Kuluma nawe clever, don't walk away.
Convoy, you like the rural that's why I'm calling because he knows he can't be full instance. If you look to full instance. I'm a superstar. I took Bruno to the production.
No, I'm sorry. I could Mama beside.
Okay, right. Some they can't wake up, but they take away.
It's a part where you put a attack.
No, I want to you don't understand. I'm not going to take the plan.
Guys, this is Ghetto Son. And you know Ghetto Son. Ghetto Son is mad, especially when he's drunk. So we need to get to know who Ghetto Son and get to... Yeah, but the cameraman.
Okay, number 4.
He's making
it's 4.
He's traveling the routes that the Gutas were traveling. He's driving and I wish my enemies would see me.
C'est plus la respect là.
And in fact, it's like very everyone must have their own shagan. Okay, now you will not arrive. like it's an accessory. But don't
must have your own shagan.
But must have their own shagan. Rural people understand his decision. So his decision making is like tribal decision making in the village.
Hey, Pagin! Tinyikom Changan! That's the flopiva. When a black man buys an X5, about that buy a Kuruma, but when an Indian man buys one and writes it Azul GP, nobody says a thing. Ignorant. Wake up, Africa. In bed. fanele angasinjoyi democracy ihanya kufana na tihosi ikurata ka xikwembu 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 Vuga ute. Vuga ute. Vuga ute.
This is not my summer home.
Nigga, please, can you push on my swagger? But if I got my man, he's a fan of the Zola.
Question ukuthi ngizosithola phi igezi ingaka lapha kwadlanga.
Okay, so then why don't you just change the lock?
So grind.
But we are just doing it.
It's some complicated lock. You failed to interpret love.
No, I interpreted. I told them that I'm safe.
You are being shouted at by somebody who loves.
My sister now is very active. She's screaming at me.
Do what I did. Inhle le ntombi madoda. Inhle. Wako awekho. Hey, the Mlungus are gonna say these natives.
Loud shouting here. Peace, we are here for peace.
Where is leadership going? Hello. What's up? Ngisemsebenzini. I'll call you when I get back. As in, I'm working right now. Mr. Rustenburg. All right, I'm driving back. Hoping ukuthi ngifike eJoseph vandag. Sharp. All right. Sekseni. This is 5 kilometers behind the legendary Sun City, where we go for all sorts of awards. Very beautiful, glamorous place that makes a lot of money. And the irony of it, ukuthi the youth young is not happy with a lot of things, which is becoming very common in the country. Mangfika la izolo ebusuku, I think something to 10. I passed a tavern down the road. There was a great deal of noise. The sound was very high. It sounded like a good enough amount of a typical Kwaitour show. And I get here and I find less than 25 people waiting for me. Basically, there was fire and we're sitting and we're having a youth discussion. Something I've done across Africa a lot. Like that Ted boring thing we keep on doing in Kenya, the youth summit, or sometimes they send the youth to Egypt. I was in two, one in Ethiopia and one in Kenya. You get a lot of youth from around the continent. They sit there and they talk about how they view the continent and where the continent should go. And all they do is just talk because the politicians are not there. And the politicians at the African scale level don't get along. You've got Muslim governments, you've got Christian governments, you've got traditional governments, you've got rebel governments, you've got no governments. So when we sit and we talk about these brilliant ideas that will improve Africa, from economy to education to eco-friendly ideas, but those things really never get implemented. So I'm going back, for I'm sitting here with this youth. We are having a discussion about social issues that happen in this area, Rustenburg. And for the first time, my eyes are being open to being away from the Sun City where there's lights, the beds are very comfy, and stuff and everything. And I'm actually getting now the gist is Kipani Lana. It's the same problems you get everywhere in the country, whereby youth are talking about lack of service delivery, the absence of Bazari, the absence of institutions of Fundam, the absence of recreation centers, the questioning of the money is if government does allocate money, if so, how much is it, and how does it trickle down, and where did it end up, and where is it, and who exactly is responsible for it.
the typical arrogance of lower-ranking politicians who refuse to talk to the youth, whose jobs is to talk to the youth. Some of the councillors, some of the mayors will just, they keep on promising people, we are coming to a meeting, there will be a meeting, we will attend you, and they really never, ever, ever show up. So the discussion was not nice. Here's the problem with Africa. The youth that I'm talking to today, which is Abontanga Bam and slightly younger, have basically inherited the problems of the youth before, because we are back at discussion level about things that should have happened a long time ago. And I'm beginning to hear words that were common in the 80s. Words like regime, words like revolution, words like emancipation. Those words were famous because they were associated with the consciousness struggle at the time where South Africa felt they could go into a civil war. And they tell you now that the body count apartheid is equivalent to a small civil war in this country. I'm now hearing these words on the streets again. The amakama that we know were used to put youth psychologically somewhere because they were fighting against the government. To hear such diction today makes you question how cool is our youth namhlanje with the government, because they feel they've inherited some of the biggest problems from the 80s and the early 90s, and they feel things have not been changed and things are continuing. Some of them have already become parents, so therefore this thing now is moving on to their kids. We're going to sit here, we're going to talk. Maybe there's going to be politicians, maybe there won't be politicians. And it's going to be long and boring for me, because I'm going to live here and nothing will have happened. Again, I'm going to hear commitments again. But you can blame the government all you want. My argument is Zola with them was, what have they done? I tell you this because each time we go out to help a certain community, we go to corporate, we ask for something, be it we want some new innovative toilets, or we want some water system, or maybe some purifier, and then we go apply that in a certain community. And then we show the government, oh, Bobaba, this is what we've done. So I was playing the devil's advocate when I was asking Bona themselves, what have they done for their communities before they can start pointing fingers at the government? Because we become a nanny state. People are demanding all of these things from the government, and we could just go to corporate for some of them and get them. And then they're saying, but you know what, Mzolisto, before we can enable our own people, we must be able ourselves. We feel weak, we feel denied of things. There's questions with bursaries in this neighborhood. The recreation centers have ever since been built years, and they got vandalized, and some of them, really the person who could take credit for them is actually Lucas Mangop and not the South African Mandela government. That's how old things are in this area. So it's a mess, but it's a mess in the whole country. It's a mess because there's no open dialogue. What we're trying to do here is to get a platform where the youth can actually have a conversation in power. And I hope this works. And then, like, let us to the president where we can hear what youth and who's going to answer them and what is the leadership saying. Now go back to another problem, VV. Guys at municipality level don't have the complete power of money. They don't have, sometimes, they're not even sure what Malibaso told her that year. Or it will be taken back to government, maybe some 40 million will go back to government, or they're going to get that 40 million back. And if they get it, it's going to come up with a whole lot of red tapes whereby you will get a councillor or a mayor that really wants to do things for his people, but he can't because of certain messages that come maybe from powers that are higher than him. This is where you get councillors' houses and mayors' houses being banned because people may not be politically inclined, how somebody ended up failing to do a certain thing. Can't be mali kona access yayo or ifyang at all, because we live in a country where they'll tell you with such a province is poorer than the other one. We live in a country where other provinces get more money than the other one. We live in a country where other provinces are so well established, Gauteng, and then others are not. So a guy that gets his budget in Gauteng, Teku Parks for an example, he's talking to us about innovative ways of making Gauteng green, eco-friendly. In other provinces, people are still talking about building a CBD. It does not exist. This is the problem that this youth is facing. But now they feel with time. is against them because you pass your matric at what? 17 and a half going to 18. Before you know it, you're 25, you're thinking, hey son, by now I should be practicing as a lawyer. Then you feel frustrated as a young person. So, the devil won yesterday. I come here, I found 15, 20 young people. I passed there by that tavern. I think the shouting voices alone were close to 100. So the youth didn't come really here. They went to the tavern because they are exhausted. But then again, even if they are exhausted, are they politically inclined to justify why they are exhausted? Inkinga ke yakule country lapho, but ke okonwa ngomlomo ngesizulu kulungiswa ngomlomo. The sooner we have the open dialogue na youth and find out exactly what youth ifuna nanokuthi what is our leadership expecting of us, then we'll get somewhere. But we also live in a country of divided leadership. The youth is not even sure who to follow anymore. For somebody who's worked with a country from a tender age, it's like I'm watching something amazing fall that I so greatly participated and gave up my young years to be part of. And it is very scary to hear. I took water to Kenya and Ethiopia because those were countries that are not developed. To hear now today in this country that now I have to solve the water problem in South Africa and solve the toilet problem in South Africa is a bit scary, because when we traveled across the continent, we got letters that talked about things that we thought they are so common and so simple, like drilling a borehole. I read today in the newspapers, it feels like I'm reading a newspaper from Kenya. So where are we going? Be it my kids get the best life and the best education. How are they going to live and enjoy that if we end up in something that's beginning to smell like a civil war? It's like the whole idea of building castles back in the days was that the elite would live in the castle and then the people outside would suffer. But there are stories and movies of people getting to the walls of the castle, crashing down the castle and taking over kingdoms. That's how the Tsar died. That's how Maria Antoinette died. So I would not then be able to isolate myself and think my kids are going to live a great life in a country that is not stable. Because even if you take your kids to a private school, even if you push an X5 for them to go to school, even if your wife pushes a Range Rover, you are still in Africa and you are still in South Africa. South Africa goes down, we go down together. South Africa rises, we rise together. Unless it's true, this thing I hear, there are already commercial exiles. People who have started departing this country because they can afford to. Sad. Food for thought.
Times 7 ukokama sheleni awufour by four sisingena like wapeni ayishayisule mkhize yibovude masamweni ngelinye ilanga yoziduma imoto yami isigedlemba sami nami ngikruze nomfazi wami ube nayo sebenzela embube nayo sebenzela embube nayo sebenzela embube nayo sebenzela sebenzela abantu bami, sebenzela abantu bami, noma ishiphu kangakanani, noma ishiphu kangakanani, moto yami lena, noma ishiphu kangakanani, umkhulu wami lona, noma mncane kangakanani, sebenzela abantu bami, sebenzela abantu bami.
Wesisi manvudla ama-ARV uhambe kamlungu akho umuntu ofayo na uyi
Ube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu ube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu ube noma ishiphu kangakanani embube noma ishiphu kangakanani moto yami lena noma ishiphu kangakanani umkhulu wami lona noma mncane kangakanani ube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela abantu embube imloyo sebenzela we still right here, got the flow, tell it how they have the different style, non-stop.
For all, kill it. Yes, Zola 7, November for F. Yes, shower lento and then get done and then back to Joe's Mabone. So
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's about time, you know, gotta do that work. Time to work. Time to work. All over ENT, we have Paddy, Ghetto Sun, we have Bruno, Uno.
So you are going?
You are going.
Do.
Without going to beg for money. You are smart, you got brains. Even when you are bashing, it means you are able to implement.
Pick it up for Zola Mzoliso. Mtaka siba chizwalo mpitaka wola Mzoliso.
Enijani. Voila.
Amantombazane ikebenzamaz pelere kulubaseka peta zophenduka ngokufuna Fethi kude tafuleni Amantombazane ikebenzamaz pelere kulubaseka peta zophenduka ngokufuna Mantombazane please shesha kwali karofrena Zalu so driver fuhlebela nomphane Voshisa amatephane kube mhlophe amafasela Fethi backseat last to the tikitera Kumuli patu shina minda zokhuluma Ntombazane usodilika Ifumeko shepi buyele ekhaya Aphula ishite seningokotela amaphoza Ishaya izulelo sebengu usujiva Shona nawe uzobhaka Asazi kunjani la siyakhona nyokana Kulamajita la ngaphandle kwabantwana Ifethela siyakhala Fethi kude tafuleni Amantombazane kamelweni ikebenzamaziphelele Kuluva sekuyaphetha zophenduka amatafula Fethi kude tafuleni Amantombazane kamelweni ikebenzamaziphelele Kuluva sekuyaphetha zophenduka amatafula Fethi kude tafuleni Amantombazane Ikebenzami Kuluva sekuyaphetha Put your sevens up in the air. May I bring put your sevens up in Who's in the room? Let's go. Wash. Stop putting candle on. Cafolera. When the couple but then I was on shiny your face is so what they on and I such a good son with the guy and and I such a corner with the car over. Let me say what they on. Let me say what they Let me say what they on. Let me say what they and I such a with the car Don't feel no doubt, just son of a fellow rise. Don't feel no doubt, just son of a fellow rise. There are things of a son of a kulu for us, feel no doubt. Let's feel no doubt. There are from a kulu for a son of a being, let's feel no doubt. Let's feel no doubt. But then, I need to go away to go to me. Come on, I'm going to go away.
Rustenburg! 7 up.
Okay. Mama umeya. and everybody was attending. I sat yesterday in a youth yala, and they said some things. I want to go to Mama, these people are saying, and I honestly represent only what they said. They said there are no sports facilities in this area. If they are there, they are broken. They said they'd like to have 1 or 2 decent libraries. Am I right? Okay. They said to me the problem why people drink and all these other things is because there's not enough recreation for them, so people are bored. Am I right? And then we ended up talking about younger people. It's younger people in the Shibuti, Amamana, so we're looking at age 8 going downwards, whereby you've got kids, the bambinos, my friend, the little ones. They're going to have your problems as they grow. The same unemployment problem, the same HIV problem, the same I'll never get to varsity problem. And then we met a lady who said she wants to take care of them. I'm just passing these messages to leadership. That at that age, abantwana, they need love and psychological protection. That during holidays and weekends, they don't eat, even though there's a stipend that comes from government. These are things I'm just putting out there. So, we need to have some open dialogue where you young people, before you can start accusing your government of all these things that the government is apparently not doing. You need an open dialogue where you can sit young wives, future wives, and young husbands, future husbands, and talk about the things that affect your community. And I need to warn you, before you attack the government, you must be politically inclined. You must know exactly what you're talking about. Because she may not have the power to give you the 20 million you want. Because somebody sits on top of her. And that person reports to the premier, and that person reports to the president. So it becomes a problem when Tinabotaki, we opt for toy-toying because we are not politically inclined. The only thing I'm here to ask you, which approach your mama right, tell her your problems, which I think by now she knows them. And then after that, you come up with a solution. The only ticket you have, Wanataki, is to finish matric. Get yourself at varsity. Because this is the only country in the world where an orphan can grow up and become a doctor. The room for artists that are no longer educated is gone. I'll give you an example. Chomi just qualified on a diploma in journalism. I'm being told Lira is an accountant. Dukes is a qualified graphic designer. I used to drive Jeba to the student village when I started singing. So, the new blood of artists, if you want to become us, you're gonna have to go to school. The music industry has no room for fools. Television has no room for fools. The blame game on where you were born and what happened in your life. Enough, Botaki. Get serious with your education. Get yourself a varsity. Come back and fix whatever you think is wrong with your life or with your mother. And varsity is maximum 6 years. It's a very short time. Are you with me? Yes. Now let me tell you something interesting with a child when you have a child and you have no bloody plan. We, the taxpayers, the middle class, have to pay for the social grant of that child. And then if that child is HIV positive, we have to pay for the ARVs of that child. And if that child is homeless, we have to make a plan with the RTP house of that child. And when that child was made, we were not there. This is unfair to the black middle class. You are killing us. But if you were to get educated, you will become a productive black person. You'll get your own house. You'll get your own car. Your kids will go to a school that you prefer. It's in the primary mode. Now let me tell you about young drug dealers before I go. And this is the part where politicians are going to be very angry with me. I think young drug dealers are great leaders. I think they should be groomed to become politicians. Because if you can talk somebody into doing drugs, you must be great. You must be some kind of a psychologist. And I think drug dealers deliver faster than the government. When you want drugs, you will get them. When you want booze, you will get it. When you want ganja, you will get it. So there's this element where the Banababa Stotikokas are actually very gifted. And we oversee that and we send them to jail. There is nothing wrong with you, even if you are HIV positive. You were born in a wrong situation, but you can change it. I changed it. My man changed it. And it cannot be just a Joburg legacy alone. People in Joburg came from places like this. Mandela is a farm boy. Jacob Zuma is a farm boy. And they run the country now. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It's where you are going. Ningzwina ma Afrika. Nyabo. Sharp. No, wash. Tulunga Kali, please, Sula your face. Bambi Santa Sami, where my people are class. Tulunga Kali, please, Sula your face. Bambi Santa Sami, where my people are class. Tulunga Kali, please, Sula your face. Bambi Santa Sami, where my people are class. Tulunga Kali, please, Sula your face. Bambi Santa Sami, where my people are class. Come on. I love you too. Waphinde bawo matrasi akabathi bese enzuma umfelokazi wakhala wakhabakaba waphala zigazi majimbo sekas bamchitha ama-popcorn agcwala isikhathi sadibana bokhulufa nabondoza amajazi izihlobi zenomani nabo nobufakazi leli ndoda emadodeni umfana kithi nyamazi thulunga khali please suleso nyembezi bambisandla sami wema people egas thulunga khali please suleso nyembezi bambisandla sami wema people egas Tulunga Kali, please, Suleso Nyembezi. Bambisandla sami wema people egas. Tulunga Kali, please, Suleso Nyembezi. Bambisandla sami Fiyipilisi, lokavini, kwenza bokhulufa balukele igazi. Look, I had a chance ukuthi ngibhome emakhishini. To get this life, ungele kude mali imali ngibale kude. Inhlaba yami iselekasi. It breaks my heart, ingoma nofa emakhoneni. Kusho khona ukuthi imisebenzi etholakala. Kumanzi imigamelo waboma amalengembezi. So F this life, udakuhlala emikhukhwini. Young black and gifted, kwele maseleni. Day after day, siyoba nasemathubeni. Kushisa nophakathi nayo kongisesha. No say Zola, no say seven. Put your sevens up, everyone.
More than according to my program, we having
awazi wena thina sizalwa yinhlanya akuhlabe ngempama akuhlanganise nesicabha athi yenza i-homework kodwa yena engafundanga. Some of our moms abakwazi nokubhala. When you turn 15 la endlini usuyabodla ayeke ibhanda vele akufinqe nesibhakela likusakaza ibhinqa lithi ngifuna udokotela.